Optimizers. This is JJ Ruescas, the host of Optimizing Me or Optimizándome, the show with top performer guests from whom we learn about their stories, their ups and downs, their habits, routines, and mostly their mindset. Our guest today is one of the top educational sources of information in the nursing industry in the US. The interesting thing is that he himself failed nursing school at some point. After learning from his own career and business mistakes, he made simple and clever moves that enabled him to tap into a space that generated unthinkable opportunities. That's how he created Simple Nursing, a platform and community that helps nursing students succeed in their careers. This, in consequence, creates a positive rippling effect with their patients. His highly explanatory and hilarious videos make him memorable in the healthcare industry and also an example for any other content creator. With unique charisma, genius, and a great sense of humor, he now simplifies the learning of more than 1 million students through all his social platforms. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Mike Linares.
That was amazing. I want you to write our copy for marketing. That was great. Like that was fantastic. Hey, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. It's amazing.
Super happy to have you here. So let's introduce the audience. Who's Mike Linares and what is Simple Nursing?
So I am a 8-year overnight success. I'm a 6-time failure at business. By the time I started, what was it? This simple nursing concept. I thought it was the dumbest idea in the world. I thought it was like so. Let me rewind real quick. So originally, I started getting into the realm of entrepreneurship at like 2021 ish. I met a guy at my church that was like, "Hey, if you want to grow your bank, you got to grow your brain." So he gave me like, all the great books: Rich Dad Poor Dad, Napoleon Hill, um, Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon, those kind of books. And he was like, "You're only 7 books away from a totally different mindset." It was in one of those books, I think it was the 4 Hour Work Week, that was saying you got to be 9 out of every 10 ideas and businesses fail. So you got to be willing to fail 9 times before you succeed the 10th time. So I was working on the ambulance at the time and then also try to do entrepreneurship in fitness, which I was doing both, like personal training and other stuff. So after failing like 6 times at other businesses, like one was an outdoor boot camp, one was just personal training out of the studio. Another one was like an online boot camp experience that has like live teachers, kind of like what Beachbody's doing right now. But this was back like in 2008 when no one was doing it. And then after failing all those times, I'm like, screw this. I'm gonna go back to like the medical field and like like actually get a job and then like do that thing. I'm like, all right. So I basically quit. And when I got into nursing school, I was teaching other paramedics on like advanced critical stuff, critical care. So when I got into nursing school, I was like, so basic, man. It's like you're trying to ambulate. So the first semester, you're like ambulating someone to the bathroom. I'm like, what the heck is this place? Like, what am I doing here? And then the way the teachers would explain things, I'm like, I wouldn't teach it like that. Like, that's dumb. So I started to slack off. I was young, cocky. I was mid 20s, 24 ish when I got in. And I was like, I can do better, all these things. And, so, the instructors don't like that, right? So I got a bad name for myself, showing up late, turning in things on late, not on time, being on my phone during class. And like, oh man, I was such an idiot. So yeah, so I still have the most write-ups in the first semester. I think I had 6 or 7 write-ups. Like people go throughout the entire 2-year program without getting any write-ups. I had 7 or whatever it was. So anyways, yeah, this gets better, trust me.
Oh, moly. Okay, let's just start
So
it.
I'm a at that point, right? I'm like a failed business person, 8,000 in debt, and then even more in debt because I'm going to nursing school, which I don't really have a good track record with my instructors. So by the time third semester goes around, I can't even believe I made it that far, a year and a half into the program without being kicked out. And one of my instructors, I think the whole class was not prepared, but she singled me out because I had the most write ups. And she's like, "You're out of here." I'm like, "All right, that's fair." So I sit down with my dean, sits me down. My dean was really cool. And she's like, "Listen, Mike, you can teach these courses. I believe in you. Just do the work Like, show up, jump through the hoops, treat it like boot camp, like in the army, and then just get out of here. She's like, I can get you in the next semester, but I just need you to show me that you're serious and do a project for me to show me you're serious. So I'm like, okay. And coming from the realm of fitness boot camps, I'm like, dude, what if I did like an educational boot camp for like 2 weeks, and I showed them how to study, time management skills, learning tricks, and it was throughout that program that people are like, put this on YouTube, and I'm like, dude, YouTube doesn't work for me. YouTube's dumb. It's never gonna work. Um,
You have tried at that point before YouTube,
yeah,
right?
because I tried other things that I wasn't really necessarily good at. I really had to learn before I earned. And so I remember
Mm.
being in the shower one day and I'm like, you know what? I have a whiteboard from Walmart that's like 20 bucks and a sock to erase the board. And I can just throw up 5 videos. Who cares, right? It's going to be another failure. Who cares? And I was thinking, like, what if it does work? What if I am actually making 10 grand a month and it does work?
Mm.
So, long story short, it was 10 years ago this November. It's coming up to the Thanksgiving time. So I made my first 5 videos about 10 years ago this time in 2012. And those 5 videos got a few thousand views in a few weeks. And I'm like, no way. This is a fluke. This is just a random chance. So I made 50 videos. And I'm like, whoa, it's starting to like really get traction 10 years ago. And I'm like, oh crap. So then I'm like, no one's gonna pay for this crap. So it wasn't until I started applying all the things I learned in the previous failed businesses, from like how to outsource and make a website on Fiverr, how to use Upwork, but in the past it was called Elance, I believe, .com before Upwork bought them out, and create a marketing campaign, create a sales funnel. It wasn't until I learned those things from all those failures that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna launch this thing for $19, a few downloads, 50 videos, and I'm gonna put it on udemy.com. And so I'm like, if I make a sale a day for 45 days, I'll quit my job in the last semester of nursing school and just do videos as much as I can. And my job, I was making like 12 bucks an hour. So I'm like, all right. So then um, I made 90 sales in 45 days. And I'm like, fantastic. And I still remember the day I downloaded this one PDF because I was still learning, even though I learned a lot at that point. There was this PDF from Craig Ballantyne, how to make 100 grand a year online. And I'm like, man, if I can just make half that, I'll be making more than I'm making at the hospital, which I think I was making like 20 something thousand. I'm like, if I can make 50,000, that would be crazy. And then my charge nurse for my manager in that day, she came in. She's like, it doesn't. She looked around, like horrible attitude. She's just like, well, it doesn't look like any of us are independently wealthy, so here we are. And I'm like, I think I'm going to change that. So then I committed to like, screw it. I'm going to quit this job. I'm going to dedicate 10 or 12, 15 hours a week just making videos. And by the end of that semester, like in June of 2013, I had made over 900 videos. And we had the first streaming platform for nursing students. Even though it was just like really crappy quality, I was erasing this really horrible webcam experience with a sock on the board, but it was the first of its kind at that time. What I didn't know is that Khan Academy had been funded by the Bill Gates Foundation, I believe, and also Google. And it was the perfect timing because YouTube was making a huge push for education, and they were just funding like millions of dollars into like these other people that were making videos. I didn't get any of those millions of dollars, but it was a good timing to catch this wave of educational information on YouTube. Um,
Mhm.
and so by the time I graduated in May of 2013, I was doing like $25,000 a month in revenue. And that first year in business, I did about $350,000, and I'm like, what
Uh,
the heck? This is crazy.
that was a little bit over the
Yeah,
50,000
big
dream.
time.
A little bit over.
And then the next year, I think we doubled that. In 18 months, we were $1 million business. We brought in over $1 million, and so
Holy.
it was just crazy because I never thought that this stupid idea would ever work. I never thought that I'd ever be a success online. I never made a dollar online before. I mean, I made a few dollars, but it wasn't like less than $100 maybe. Um, so the biggest thing that I've learned is that you got to learn before you earn, and you got to grow your brain and grow your bank, because what you put in your mind, the thoughts that you put in your mind, they're true either way. So if you think you can't do it, then you can't. And if you think you can, then you can. And one of the best quotes I have from Tony Robbins is, it's like, okay, just agree with your mind, agree with your subconscious if it's negative, and just say, like, fine, it's impossible. But just really ask yourself a question. And Rich Dad Poor Dad tells you to ask yourself a question. It's just like, if it was possible, how could it be possible? And
Mm,
yeah, and even Rich Dad Poor Dad in his book says, like, if you keep on telling your brain you can't, then obviously you can't. But your brain's a muscle. So you should always ask your brain a question, like, how can I? And when you start asking your brain questions, your brain's a natural problem solver. It's going to find solutions of how to do stuff. Um,
mm.
so fast forward into, we made, millions of dollars. I think our highest year was $2 million. And then the competitors entered the field and started copying everything I was doing. Everything. I
Wow.
know. And I was over here living my 4-hour work week life. Like, everything's on automation. I'm like traveling the world. I went to 60 countries, and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is good. I made it. And then I look back and I'm like, oh crap, dude. Our sales are going down like 30% year over year. And I'm like, we're going to be out of business in about 18 months if we don't change this. Yeah.
The 18 months that took to get us to $1 million were going to be exactly the same
I
time.
know. So it was between 2015-ish to 2018 that I had to come to the real realization that I have to keep on learning. And we had to graduate
Mm,
from this small mom and pop shop to a corporation kind of business, where it's like, hey, if we're like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And at the time, it's like my brother's wife was doing customer service. One of my good friends who used to be a car salesman was doing sales, right? We were just like a hodgepodge like group, right? It's just, and I'm thinking, like, what are we doing? And it's like, at that point I was like, are we really just here just to make money, or are we here to like help educate students and really help them? Because everyone was like, no, my dad was like, just let the business die and just squeeze it for as much money as you can. I'm like, I mean, we made a lot of money thus far, but it's like, what's the mission here? So when I started getting back to the mission of, like, what would nursing students really benefit from? It would be from memory tricks, like animation style videos. That's beautiful. It would be from like an evidence-based approach of really what is being tested on, and memory tricks to match what's being tested on. So 2018, 19, we were about, I think, probably a year from being bankrupt. At that point, I had to make that decision of firing everyone on the family side of the business and being like, yo, we're all going to go down together in burning flames. Or,
how did that go with the family?
yeah, yeah. Or I'm like, this business, you can either have, you either have two options in life. Anytime, like, crap hits the fan or bad things happen, you can choose to get bitter, or you can choose to get better. And so I'm like, guys, this has been a great chapter in our lives. It's been 5 years ish, and you can either be bitter or you can be better. And the numbers are going down. I'm investing my life savings back into this. I'm not even sure if we can turn this around, because I have to go back to the drawing board and redo over 1,000 videos by myself.
Wow.
And then I'd have to find a really strong, powerful, like, COO, chief operating officer, that would do all the business side. So the marketing,
Mm,
budgeting, sales and service, analytics, and I would have to do the content side, right? So I'm like, guys, like, we can ride this out together, but the focus is not going to be on us anymore. It's not going to be, oh, I love this job because I get to work from home or I get to travel the world. It's like, no, the focus is going to be the student, and really put ourselves in the student.
mm.
And the reason why we're doing this is to help students, not to help ourselves anymore. You know. So what happened was, we turned that ship around. It took a lot, and I believe in 2019 we finally stopped the bleeding. We increased 3% that year, and then we just put a massive
Eh,
amount. Oh man, so much time and effort back into the company. 2020 we had redone about 300 videos, and we increased by 300%. And yeah, it was amazing. And so now to this day, about 3 years later, we've done 600% increase because we had to redo all the videos. I literally had to do 1,500 videos, all animation.
And the point is that you're the front face of the entire operation. There's no replacement for your
I
face.
know, I know. At least,
Okay, okay, we can use AI. Probably nowadays we can use some AI.
whoa, how was it doing? Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is like knowing to be adaptable, because what got you to the 100 grand mark is not going to get you to the million mark, and that's not going to get you to the 10 million mark, you know? So really one of the biggest things I learned at that phase of the business was relying on a big team. I call it the three P's. In any business or really any startup, it's always about the people first. Who are you hiring? Do they have that grit? Do they have the desire and passion to win? Do they have the same vision of helping your customer as you do? And then the next one is the product. How do you make a product with those key people to help your customer? And then the last part
Hmm.
is the pitch. It's like, how are you selling the product? Um, and so my biggest thing was really manifesting and focusing on that perfect ideal fit that would be, kind of like the best person for the company. And after praying about it and have my mom pray about it, like he actually came like 3 days later through a family friend. So it was pretty amazing.
I have now two questions before we jump into this part, because the first one is, let me take you back to the moment where you were in the shower. Yeah, like this, like "Do, do, 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 do," and everything had failed at that point. What made the difference? What did you tell yourself at that moment that was different from any other shower?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. There's actually a podcast about this. They talk about the moment after meditation and the shower. Like the shower, you get time to decompress and like let your mind run free. But it's like those borders from the meditation itself. That's really helpful to frame how your mind works in the shower. So in the shower, I was just really thinking like, who cares? Like, it's a 9 out of 10 fails. So I'm only at failure 6 or 7 at the time. I'm like, who cares? I'm not gonna, spend any more money than I'm used to. And if I fail again, fantastic. That's another one on my way to 9 failures. So I'm like, I have nothing to lose.
Wow. So that was pretty interesting, because it sounds that you were so confident in the number and also the progress. It's like, this is part of the progress. I need to keep doing this, not just giving up.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And so that was you have to just commit in your mind to the plan of like failing nine times, because that's really where it is. If you can't wrap your mind around failing 9 times, then just don't start. Go work for someone else. Like do something that is meaningful in another way. But you're not meant to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, because so many times people think like I only have one time to do something correctly. But it's weird because when I was really thinking about it, I'm like, why do adults do that? When you're a kid and when you're learning stuff, you don't give yourself a limit to learning something. And you fall down as many times as you need to until you learn, and then you learn how to walk. And then you give yourself a lot of grace when you're learning a new job, and you're like, okay, you're learning. And school's a 2-year process, dude. You're learning and learning and failing and learning. And then you start practicing your career, and it's like no one makes these fake rules up, but it's weird because your mind does. And
Hmm.
entrepreneurship can take any form and shape that you want. um I think one of the biggest things that really helped me was listening to the biographies of like Disney and Walt Disney and the guys who did Pixar, and even Jeff Bezos with Amazon, because it just shows you like the human flaw and the human error that, dude, everyone's just trying to figure it out as they go along. The hardest part is just getting the what do they call it? The art is in the start of just giving yourself the freedom and the permission to fail. That's the hardest part.
Huh. This is pretty interesting, because the mindset, like you said, is very critical. Learning from people that have reached what you may want to achieve as well, or something similar. Nevertheless, that does not mean that if we follow the same recipe as they accomplished, that we're gonna get the same results. No, no, no. We're actually carving a brand new path. So we're gonna have clearly not the same problems that they had, but the more that we start thinking about, okay, this is 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, it doesn't matter. the moment is that the point is that more failures create more momentum. It sounds something like that,
No, no,
right?
it's very, very true. Because if Simple Nursing had thousands of views, let's just say millions of views, and I didn't know in the business realm of how to make a website, I didn't know how to convert a customer online, I didn't know a sales page, right? Um, I didn't know how to make the funnel. It wouldn't have been as successful. It would have just been like, "Oh, here's a great guy on YouTube." And dude, I see it all the time. I see amazing content creators that have so much good information, but they just give it away for free and they don't make a sales process that actually would help actually fund better videos, better product, better user experience. They just kind of stay at this version 1.0 and just like, "Here it is for the world," and like, "Okay, I'm making some money
Wow.
off of YouTube
Now
ads,"
let
and
me
that's
take you
it,
to the next event. Okay, Simple Nursing is already on its own train working, and you are seeing the downfall of this empire that you have created. What made you make the decision, or what was the moment where you decided, okay, no, we need to fire all the family? Which for some people, just thinking about it is like, ah! What was that in your mind? What was the moment? How was the moment that you made that decision? What was the thinking process behind it?
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest thing is that you have to understand that things change all the time. I think it was even Darwin who said that it's not the strongest or fastest species that survives, but it's the one that's best at adapting to change, you know? And at the same time, it's like you can always think, hey, you can get bitter or you can get better. So the thing is that I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, guys, we're going to be bankrupt in 18 months. And it's funny because everyone had an idea in the small family business of what the business was for. And my brother's wife and my brother were like, "Oh, we want, $10,000 a month because we're doing sales and customer service." I'm like, "Dude, our customers are shrinking. Why do you want more money? This doesn't make any sense." Because you can work from home. And then my one of my good friends was doing the sales part of it, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, we need to, get more money and revenue and this and that." And no one around that table actually said for one time that, "Hey, we're helping students." Like, "Hey, how can we make this better for the student? Or what can we do to, to enhance the product experience for the end user?" And it was at that time I'm like, everyone's vision is cloudy. Everyone got off, what we were actually trying to do. And even me, I think my focus in the beginning was how do I make money online and not really how do I help students right now. And so I think when you focus on the what are you doing and the why, I heard this in a great podcast. What are you doing and why are you doing it? Focus on that, the two W's. And then the when and the how will come later. Because if the reason why you're doing something is so important to you, then the timelines really don't matter. And if what are you doing is, that passion and vision project, then like the when, it can always be up in the air.
Reminds me
That's personally
also,
mine.
even you mentioned Tony Robbins. He talks about the having first the why, then the what, and later comes the how. And the how is going to iterate. It can change
Oh
completely.
yeah.
If something did not work, then change it to another way. Okay. Hmm. So now let's talk about simple nursing, because what you guys are doing is fantastic. I mean, I have devoured your content like if I would be a nursing student, because it's first, it is super fun, it is super easy to understand, and it is memorable. How did you get, or how did you come to the realization that, okay, we need to do a format like this or content like this one?
Yeah, so I saw so imagine this. So imagine, you're the only taco truck on the street and you're just killing it, because like there's no other place to get tacos. And then two other taco trucks come up and doing the same exact thing you're doing, but a little bit better. And you're like, crap. So now you're probably going to go out of business because those taco trucks are beating you. So our idea was, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we went around to everyone's taco truck and took ideas and put it and made it like the best taco in the world, So that's kind of what we did. I looked at PBS, what they were doing, a few other YouTube channels that had animation and how they integrated it into their videos. I looked at, what would be the best video for nursing students, and what we thought of was like, hey, what if we just dissected the top 5 textbooks that nursing students use and hired 3 instructors that teach the program to really extract only the need to know information that's always tested on. And so once we started doing that, we got only the need to know info that will be tested on the board exams, and then started matching memory tricks to that with a visual aid. And we're like, that would be the best taco on the street. So we had that project and that concept in 2019, and just basically built upon that. And so I still believe that it's the best way to learn, because I think everyone's a visual learner. And if you see only the need to know information with memory trick and match it together, it's just very simple. You're going to pass your classes.
And in the case of
So
a nursing student, or when they are in their practice, my guess is that you guys need to be on top of what you have learned. It needs to come right at that moment when there's a patient that needs your help, isn't it?
yeah, not really actually.
Oh, okay, correct me, please. Go ahead. I love
Okay,
this.
nursing school is very much like taking a driver's test. It has nothing to
Oh,
do with
really?
actual. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's when you take a driver's test, your hands have to be right here all the time. You have to use your blinker and like deep, 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 whatever. Like actual nursing is a very technical skill or like a learned skill. So you really don't even know anything until your first year of actual practice. So you're in nursing school for 2 years, just learning how to take tests and learning how to check boxes off. Like your entire nursing school program, you can do an IV and like insertion maybe one time or zero times. Yeah, yeah, like you know nothing. You only know numbers, you know signs and symptoms that you read in a book, especially the people that were online for clinical during COVID. Like there was a few students that was like, I never actually touched a real patient before because of COVID. And so now I have to be in the neuro ICU learning. And the good thing about this is that most hospitals they like help you through like a preceptorship program. So they'll put you like with another nurse and they'll do a training program for at least 6 months for you to get on your own. But yeah, the only thing that really helps make nursing students nurses is just passing your classes and passing your board exams. And so we figured out a way to have like a Netflix style streaming service with videos that just consolidates all the information in an 8-minute video that would have taken you 3 hours to probably find for yourself. Yeah. So we just help you pass your boards and then yeah.
What about the memory techniques? And I'm going to ask this because one of the first episodes of the podcast was with this mental athlete from Spain. He was a memory champion, actually, Jose Maria Vea. Oh, and the way the guy was able to memorize the number pi up to 150 digits or something like that. Crazy. And we were talking about the techniques that he has been using, not only for stuff like that, but for the day to day. And then we actually interviewed another memory athlete from Mexico. Now that I recall. So, so how are you guys using memory techniques to help students?
I need to get those guys on our team. Like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
honestly, I don't have any advanced techniques like them. But what I usually try to do is either make a word rhyme with something else or use the same letter. For example, there's only one cardiac enzyme that shows a heart attack, and it's called troponin. So if T for troponin shows up that's positive, then that means T for trauma in the heart, and it shows that you have heart damage. Another one that you have to know is what was it? Creatinine, which creatinine shows that you have a damaged kidney. So the key number you have to know for your boards is 1.3. Anything over 1.3, we call bad kidney. So we just put yeah, we put that together. And so, yeah, some of it, it's harder, but yeah, that's what we try to do.
The videos that I was watching from you guys just hit me because I said, you especially have this mindset that is so eager and so able to come up with rhymes and with songs like parodies. We're gonna talk about that for sure, right? So you may know what's the name of this guy?
Weird Al Yankovic.
Richard Feynman.
Oh, Richard Feynman. No.
Man, you have to check his autobiography. Is called "You Have to Be Joking, Mr. Feynman," and it is he is considered the best explainer in the planet from all
Really?
time. He even was a Nobel Prize. Yeah, and the guy was able to, and he was basically a Renaissance man, a polymath. So it reminded me when I was watching your videos of this guy because he was considered the best explainer in the planet on science. You guys, for me, that I am clueless about nursing, were wow, they are the best explainers, or Mike is the best explainer in nursing for me, right?
Man, I gotta like get his book. This is amazing.
It's hilarious. His book is hilarious, by the way.
What was it called again?
You have to be joking, Mr.
You have to.
Feynman. Yeah, yeah.
I
Check
like
that
it.
out.
I love
Now,
it.
let me go into to ask some of these other questions. First, what were some of the mistakes that you see in other people when they're starting, whether their entrepreneurial career or their
Mhm.
YouTube? Because so many of us would like to put some content out there, or we may be afraid, we may be thinking, oh, I don't know how to do this or the other thing, and that discourages the person. So, what are some of the mistakes that you see?
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes is marrying your idea before you date it. So let me explain. So many times, like it sounds ridiculous, right? Like the dating world, it's like you're gonna get married on the first date, right? Imagine showing up to your first date with you already bought the ring, you bought the dress, you booked the venue to get married, and you haven't even met this person, right? You don't even know if it's gonna work. So I see people do that all the time, right? They'll buy the expensive camera like I did. That's a rookie mistake. You buy so many expensive things like a fancy computer and like, a backdrop and all these things. And you spend so much money on an idea that you don't even know it's going to work. So what I usually tell people to do is like do your do an entire course in a weekend. You should only be 70% happy with a course if you're going to create it. You shouldn't be 100% happy because, you know, making a course, you don't know. You're making a dish for the first time. You can't be perfect. And I think that's the biggest thing is just getting in your mind that you have to learn before you earn, that this is a learning process and you have to fail 9 times. One of the biggest things in terms of practical advice that I would recommend is just give information as much as you can online for free. So what I usually tell people to do is people are they put the cart before the horse. They're so focused on making a sale before they make a community or make a name for themselves that people know, like, and trust. So, for example, like, let's just say we're teaching about my buddy who's a physical therapist in the UK. He wants to make something for like optimizing back health or physical therapy stuff. I'm like, dude, then make 100 videos that you know of just doing that and see if anyone watches you. Because if no one watches you, they're not going to buy from you. And he's always like figuring out, like, oh, but this website and the sales funnel. I'm like, dude, that doesn't even matter because it doesn't matter if you have a sales funnel if no one cares about you. So it's like Oprah. Oprah can sell anything at any time because she's Oprah. She doesn't need a sales funnel. She doesn't need a marketing campaign. It's just like, hey, go buy this, and they're buying it, right? And like, you just need people to know you, like you, trust you. If you can do that, they'll buy anything from you. So that's one of the second biggest rules is just sit your butt down and pump out a bunch of video content that you're not proud of and put it on YouTube.
Wow. Whew. It reminds me also of Seth Godin. What is it called? So, do you know Seth Godin? He wrote Lynchpin and stuff like that. He's constantly encouraging you to keep doing that. And actually, a week ago, I was watching this video with Ed Sheeran, and he was telling how he composes and how he produces. And he told him, so how do you get those ideas? And he said, well, the mind is like this bucket, and you have the crappy ideas at the top and the good ones are at the bottom. So you just need to get all of those crappy ideas as quickly as possible, and you will find the golden nuggets at the bottom.
Oh, no, it's so true. Like, I thought out of all the ideas I ever had, I thought that the simple nursing idea was the dumbest idea. Because think about it at the time, right? Like, I failed out of nursing school, for one, never made any money online. I was actually 8 grand in debt from all my business endeavors. I was waiting to get back into nursing school, not even sure if I was going to be a nurse. And I'm like, wow, what a great time to actually start a YouTube channel educating nursing students. That's just dumb. That and all these things are going on in my head, but then I'm just like, screw it. Let's just try it out. It's gonna fail again, but who cares?
And the funny part is the sock. right? Clean it
Yes,
up with the
man,
tongue.
literally had to stop wiping, and I still have those videos up on YouTube right now.
Great. So now, for example, okay, I am an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, and we are on an elevator, right? And I get you here in the elevator, and we have
Mhm.
only 15
Second.
floors to go
Oh, okay,
to
okay.
spend time together. You
Mhm.
have given me all of that advice. What's something that you can tell me in that time that it's the most important thing that I need to do as an entrepreneur?
Honestly, the biggest thing for entrepreneur is just you have to focus on growing your brain. Just grow your brain, grow your bank. You're only 7 books away from a totally different life. If you can focus on just learning before you earn, that is the number one thing. Um, because all the practicality of how to do it is already there. And I think one of the biggest things is people don't learn, so they don't earn. And yeah, so that's why I want to make like a 48-hour product launch course and just show them like, hey, here's how to get your product out to the world in 48 hours and just set it, forget it.
Wow.
See what happens.
Wow,
Yeah.
sign me up for one of those ones. By the way, we just arrived to the 15th floor. Thank you. Pew!
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. See you guys.
Now, question: how do you consume information?
I love audiobooks. I will admit to something I'm not proud of. I actually screw. I'm proud of this. I have never read a book cover to cover in my entire life. I've gotten close, like maybe 2 chapters left, but I've never finished reading a book. I finished multiple books by audiobooks. And that's so easy for me because I'll just throw it onto the gym and like, an hour a day, even when you're driving too, I'll be done with the book in like a week or two. So pretty amazing. Yeah, I really like that.
Nice. Any other source besides books, audiobooks in this case, that you consume?
Yeah, I like to do podcasts. I'm very much of like Howard Hughes, where I just dive into a topic for like 2 weeks. So when I got stem cells in the Cayman Islands, I just listened to every stem cell podcast I can get my hands on and just devoured it. And I put it at like 2x speed so I can just hear it faster. And yeah, then I got into peptides and then biohacking and all those things. So yeah,
Thanks to biohacking is that we met actually, right?
I know. Yeah, yeah. That's the best part. Yeah.
Question.
So I mean,
Now, so
yeah.
if you invest time in consuming, how do you make decisions about what or all of your ideas? Because consuming that much amount of information brings you so many ideas. How do you know which ones to prioritize?
I don't. Okay, the thing is like when I look, I don't know if I've embodied this yet, but I want to think I have. But when I look at like someone like Elon Musk, right? He has like so many ideas that are in the works, and things like going to Mars, digging tunnels, self-driving cars, buying Twitter, and all these things. But he has systems and teams in place, and he kind of like evaluates the odds. Um, so what I've heard from a podcast was like write down 10 stupid ideas. If you can't think of 10, then write down 30 dumb ideas. And so I have a list of about 25 dumb ideas, and I'm just looking at what is the most simple to execute. Which one would help the most amount of people? Another one would be like which one would be like the biggest passion project and even the biggest like return on investment is the idea. So
Mm.
that's what I'm basically focused on. So like one of the ideas was, food trucks are getting like really popular these days, right? And so one of the ideas was like, wouldn't it be cool to like get like a short bus or like a school bus and make like a theme out of like, a school bus with like, handcrafted cuisine from like, from the cafeteria. Like a 5 cheese grilled cheese and stuff. And then girls in like pencil skirts, like schoolgirl outfits, like serving you and stuff. I always thought that would be like really cool. But that's the problem. It's like the startup cost would be a lot of money. I'm not really passionate about food. If I was a chef, probably a different story. Um, and then just to actually finance that and get the right partners and the right team in place would kind of be really difficult. But really the biggest thing is I'm not as passionate about it. Now, let's say next week I manifest someone that's like, "Oh, dude, we should totally collab. I had this idea, blah blah blah." We figure out the financing part. That would be great because I have the concept and the idea behind it, but not necessarily the day-to-day operations, if that makes sense.
In that sense, what makes you passionate?
Oh man, I love, and I didn't really realize this until I started focusing on mind, body, spirit. So if I'm really simplifying stuff like I have with nursing, I really got into simplifying the mind. I'm like, what's the fastest way between A to Z with your mind? And I was like, looking at meditation, I'm like, dude, this just takes too long. I'm so ADD. Oh man, it's horrible. So I forced myself to go into a dunk tank for about 25 hours in 1 month. And so I was trying to get to a 50-hour benchmark because if you go to a sensory deprivation tank, in that tank, I've learned so much about myself and how I operate. So I just love to get a complex idea and then figure out what is the easiest way to get, like, how do you hack it? How do you make it more efficient, cheaper, faster, and better? And then I get really frustrated when I go over here into the details of it all. So I think that's where the team really helps. But the concept and the ideology is really hard for traditional people that work in companies to wrap their heads around. And to really be a good entrepreneur, you really just have to think, what would I want as a consumer? What would I want as a customer? And put yourself in their shoes. I think the guy from HubSpot actually said this. He's like, where friction is low, then money will flow. So if you can be that solution for someone, then people will buy it from you. So that's the biggest thing is I just love hacks and just getting.
Two things. First, that sounds also very much what Alex Hormozy, Alex
Yes,
Hormozy,
yeah, yeah.
version of his formula. And second, man, it sounds that even though you're devouring information, doing the opposite actually, right? Restricting or depriving yourself for all stimuli help you. That's so interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the best things I've ever done in my life was meditation and also psilocybin, because the meditation will actually. It's funny, man. Like you don't even know yourself because you're layered on so many things you didn't even choose. Like you didn't choose where you were born, your parents, even your ethnicity, your gender. You're just born into this body, and you think you're supposed to be a certain way. And when you actually dig down into 50 hours or more of regular practice meditation, you actually really find out who you are and you're observing yourself. And yeah, I think that was one of the best things I've ever done because now I get to see really what I get passionate about. So yeah, it's so for example, it's like, let's just say tomorrow we had 300 food trucks, right? And it was like a great, like, little business. But it's like I never really solved a problem for someone. There's nothing that made something better, faster, cheaper. It's just serving food and a great experience. So for me, it would be way more fulfilling to do a 48-hour product launch for people and see them actually getting their dreams out there in a better, faster, efficient way.
And what about the psilocybin? So we had meditation on one hand,
Oh yeah,
and
man. So I grew up very Christian. I was supposed to be a youth pastor, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Then I started experimenting like spirituality and like doing a lot of other stuff. I've tried mushrooms in the past when I was in my 20s, but never really respected it. I was just doing a party stuff and like visuals until I saw the Netflix documentary How to Change Your Mind, and I that's when I started going on an internal journey instead of an external journey. So they recommend to put like an eye mask on, and they're doing it at John Hopkins University, I think Harvard, and a few others. And man, it's curing people's OCD, panic disorder, I think rumination. So for me, it really just manifested and really kind of brought to light the things I kind of already knew in meditation. But one of those things um, was the fact that I really just felt really very, very connected to like universal consciousness. And it's weird because like the same molecular structure elements wise that are in our bodies right now, when we die, we go back into the soil and that same like matter can't be created or destroyed. So we are literally stardust. Like that's basically what we are. We're the same elements that are in the earth right now. And the one thing that this is what I realized on my journey. One thing that I realized was like the earth is constantly changing between life and death and life and death. But the weird part is humans hate change. We want things to stay the same all the time. When it's in us and it's in the earth, that's the one thing that the earth does better than any other planet, any other little rock circling a star, is it's changing between life and death and always. So once you really, really learn to let go and embrace change and embrace the life and embrace the death and really just experience it as just a normal process, that's when you really start making big changes in your mind and big changes in your life, I think.
Wow, that's super cool. Thank you. I'm going to definitely watch that is the documentary by Michael Pollan, right? Isn't it?
Oh man, yeah, it's so good. Like, yeah, the second episode, psilocybin, was it's great. He even talks about how they really kind of discovered it again back in the '60s in Oaxaca or Osaka.
And so many other cultures have had those kind of technologies, and they have been put aside, or they have been classified, whether governmental or even just culturally, as prohibited, right? Which is so interesting. Like you said, sometimes the religious mindset is so strict, so dogmatized in something that does not allow to expand or adapt to things, to technologies that were older than humans, probably way older.
Which is really strange to me because I'm like, if God actually made these things on Earth, it's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously everything in like moderation, because an opioid will kill you and things like that, from poppies. But at the same time, I think I've never felt so connected before after that trip, which was really amazing to me.
Wow. It also reminds me of this other documentary, From Neurons to Nirvana. Have you watched that one?
Oh no.
Yeah, it's super short, and it's going to give you an entire spectrum of other psychedelics or entheogens as well. It's called From Neurons to Nirvana. Yeah, check it out. Oh, one of the next episodes, actually, my ayahuasca shaman is going to be in the show, so I have to show you that one.
Oh man, let me see here. I need to write that down.
Yeah, it's super cool. That one, and the other one as well, I would say it is From Shock to Awe. That's another one. So those two, highly suggested. Mike, let me ask you now this other question. What are the daily habits that make you the best version of yourself?
All right. It wasn't always like this, but the intention was there, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you guys my 5 steps. I don't get it done every single day. We call this a 5-star day, but the intention behind it was the bookends of the day. I'm horrible at the last book of the day in a sense that the first hour that you start your day and the last hour you start your day really depends. It determines how you are a person in the long run because it's these little habits that shape your character and who you are. So the first hour I'm really good at, but the last hour before going to bed, I'm really horrible at. But I made a little an entire list like this. This is a 5-star day. So what does a 5-star day mean? So they say number one, magic starts at night, which I'm really horrible at. So you have to get at least 8 hours of sleep ish, 7.5 or whatever, and just get restful sleep because that sets up how productive you are the next day. And so that's if you get 8 hours, you get 1 star. The second star is your morning routine. So basically, I fast until 2:30. And one of the things I do in the morning is you do a cold shower, a cold-ish shower. Apparently, it increases your adrenaline and epinephrine and norepi in your body, your catecholamines, that actually energize you and kind of wake you up. Then you do 3 things you're grateful for in that day, and I usually just do it for 3 minutes. Um, and then I do my supplements, which I do a few. I do like 15, but for sake of simplicity, the main ones is NMN for DNA repair, and it's a precursor to NAD, which actually gives you longevity, and it's one of the biggest things that they say is going to cure aging. Um, the second one is resveratrol. So I do 1,000 milligrams of both, and then I do omega 3s in the morning. Um, then I like to get into like mind, body, spirit work. So that entire thing, from the shower to the gratitude to I even do tongue scraping and supplements. It'll take like 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Then I try to do um, about 10 to 15, 20 minutes of just meditation work where I'm just sitting there and I do meditation and manifestation. So I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you know, but I've heard it from a few people, even acupuncturists, where it's like if you really want to manifest something, you have to be in a meditative state, like a relaxed state. So you're not chasing and you're not fighting, you're just accepting and you're owning it. So what I do is for the first part of that 5 minutes, I just practice gratitude or just calming the mind and just kind of being at peace. And then the next 5 minutes, I start manifesting and just basically saying things that you want, but you can't say that you want them or you're chasing them. You have to just act like you own it. It's done because it already is. The moment you start chasing something or really wanting it, the farther it runs from you. So what I've started accepting is a great team, great health, a loving family, just peace where I'm at in my life right now. Because the hardest part about it being an entrepreneur is your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. So what makes you really motivated will also you're going to get really down on yourself and negativity wise because you're going to be kicking yourself and like, can I do more? Can I do more? You messed up on this, and then you're like flogging yourself. So one of the best ways to center yourself is by just practicing that gratitude and taking a look at where you want to go. They always say like the most successful people focus on where they want to go, not focused on where they're at currently. So the mind work, if I don't get anything done throughout the whole day, the mind work is probably the most important thing. Um, because the workouts is just good for you can have the best body, but the worst mindset, you'll not go anywhere. You can see a bunch of guys at the gym that have just the worst attitudes, but have the great bodies, right? Like if they actually if they spend as much time on their mind as they did their bodies, they'd probably be in a totally different
It's
mindset.
interesting because biceps like this, but their mind is so weak, like it's like a super slim
Exactly,
limb.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And you were telling me that those are the five, right? Or the or
Yeah, that was kind of messy, so sorry about that. So one is sleep. Number two is your morning routine of like whatever your morning routine consists of. So mine is a cold shower, gratitude, and your supplements. And then the third one is like your mindset. So do about 10 to 15 minutes or right now I'm doing a breathwork course from what was it? The Art of Living. So I'm taking a little bit more time. I'm doing 40 minutes of actual mind work, breath work, mind breath, and just being in that meditative state. And then the what was it? What number are we? I don't even know. So then we're on. So then you do the body work, right? So for me at least, I like to get 30 minutes of cardio, 30 minutes of weights, and then about 15 minutes of sauna. Now I only do that body work like 3 days a week. So ideally, you can get a 5-star day around 3 to 5 days a week, but it's kind of hard to get any more than that. So, but it's amazing because once that starts compounding over the course of a year, you can see some really big improvements in how you live.
wow. I was giving a talk on how to avoid burnout and achieve optimal performance to a group of founders this morning, and I realized that about something similar to what you said. It is our brain is so bad at realizing when we are going downhill in little decrements, right? We cannot realize it, and we start normalizing that thing until it's too late and it's boom, burnout. Nevertheless, our brain is so bad at realizing that when we do this kind of little increments like the ones that you're suggesting, at some point, woof, we have this return of investment that is like, wow, how did I get here, right?
It's honestly the moments in between the moments. They call it like the moments in between the big moments that make the biggest difference. And it's really like honestly how you talk to yourself and what you're saying to yourself. Dude, one of the biggest things that I'm really getting good at night that I added was brain tap. Remember brain tap at the conference?
Yes, yeah, brain tap. How is that one? I was thinking about trying it.
Oh my god. Okay, if your listeners are listening, probably this is probably the most important thing. I've already manifested 3 things that I was thinking about by using brain tap app. And the cool thing, the app is free. I don't even use the headset anymore. I just use the earbuds.
Really?
No, yeah, I just use the earbuds. And so it's free. The only thing you pay for in the Brain Tap app is the sleep, I believe, the sleep one. So
Okay.
I haven't been listening to sleep. I have like a 14-day challenge that I've been doing morning and evening. I've been listening to what's it called? Lifestyle and basically manifesting your perfect relationships, personal success magnet. There's like probably 40 different ones for like 20 minutes. I just listen to it before I go to bed and then when I wake up.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, it's been crazy. Yeah, so one of the things I manifested was my friend has a master class for Botox for nurses, showing them how to set up their clinics. And I'm like, dude, you should totally franchise this. It can be $100 million business. And I'm like, what you would need is this certain type of franchisor, like 5 years plus experience, a boutique style, not a lot of clients, but handcrafted. Literally 2 days later, I had a dream about Bert and Ernie. I'm like, what? That's weird. I go to the gym, I'm in the sauna, I meet a guy named Bert, and he has a franchise business that he's owned for 10 years. He only has three small clients, and he's like, yeah, let's jump on a phone call and see if we can franchise your friend's Botox studio. I'm like, no way.
Wow, I'm downloading it. It's the Brain Tap Pro, right? Great. Yeah, for people that they don't know what is Brain Tap, it comes with a gadget, but that you're not even using the gadget. But can you explain a little bit what is Brain Tap, please?
Yeah. So we went to a conference. JJ and I went to a conference for biohacking, and one of the vendors there was BrainTap, and so it was actually created by a doctor that is specialized in the Silva mind control method. Which, if you guys don't know, Silva was huge in the 80s and 70s and even 90s, and they basically showed people how to tap into their subconscious. So the idea behind it is that your subconscious basically runs 70% of how you operate in the day in your life. Whether that's from your childhood traumas, from the negative beliefs that you're holding on to, whatever it is. So what BrainTap does is it puts you in a meditative state and then does subtle suggestions to get your subconscious mind to manifest things. So remember when I was saying like you have to be in a meditative state first and then you do the manifestation work.
Mhm.
So it'll tell you subconsciously as you're going to sleep or as you're in this relaxed state of how to think, how to let go of negative thinking, how to basically embody the things that you want to do. And it's really helpful because I think that a lot of people want to manifest, they just don't know how. And this feels like it's all inclusive in a 20-minute bite-sized track and boom, you can just get it.
Man, I'm gonna try it right away because I've been thinking about this thing, and I was thinking, hey, should I get me the goggles? But if you're telling me you don't need the goggles, I trust it.
Yeah, if you get the goggles, it really what the goggles do, I believe, is it blinks both eyes to put you into this REM because REM is your deep deep sleep. It's basically your rapid eye movement, but it'll train your pupils to go back and forth into this REM movement to get you in a deeper state. So yeah,
It sounds very much like non-sleep deep rest. Have you heard about that? NSDR.
no,
Take a look at that.
I've heard of NSDR.
Yeah, and Andrew Huberman talks about that, which is a type of self-hypnosis that we're doing. Yeah, take a look at it because I'm getting myself more and more into that, so we can talk about that in the next episode. So let me ask this other question, Mike. I know that we're getting to the end of our time together. Let's go with some of the rapid fire questions, and maybe this one is gonna take a little longer than a rapid fire, so that's okay. Which is, what was something that you unlearned in recent years that improved the quality of your life?
Unlearned. That's a really good one. Oh man, there's so many things. Um, I think one of the biggest things that I had to really unlearn is that it's okay to not be perfect. Um,
Mm.
and it's okay to let things go and change. Um, Man, there's so many. One of the biggest ones I'm learning right now, which I have learned in the past, but they always say that the universe will keep on showing you the same episode and the same thing until you learn. And once you learn, then you won't see it anymore.
Mhm.
So one of the biggest things I'm learning still is not to be a people pleaser.
Mm.
And I don't exist for other people's happiness in a sense. You know, I have to do what's right and fair and kind and peaceful for me, but I don't exist to actually make someone,
Wow.
proud of me or something like that, if that makes sense.
Cool. So let's keep moving on. What are your current mentors or role models?
Oh man, Hugh Hefner. No, I'm just kidding. So let me think. No, I think one of the biggest role models that's kind of in my mind is wrapping my head around Elon Musk because I think he's like AI or something. And just the idea of observing a human being like that or whatever he is, an alien, of just putting together teams and ideas and intentions and letting that team kind of guide it to success is really something I admire. because I have so many ideas that I really want, from a tiny home community we're building in Austin to a peptide project to a drop ship company for NAD and glutathione, that I would just love to be kind of like as almost like a blueprinter or someone who just makes like, an architecture, grafting, um, and just lets a team build it and construct it and guide it to success. Um,
Hmm.
that's one of the biggest things that I'm really focused on. Another one is looking at, there's not a real big role model that I actually focus on, but kind of like being in that peaceful meditative state all the time, because I've met a few not monks, but like, yeah, I guess monks or gurus, and I've seen them and seen how they build communities, or seeing how the art of living and that entire story came together. And it's not like, from a business mind, you're thinking, oh, we need projections and financials and volunteers and payroll and all these things, when most of these guys, like the gurus and monks, they start with intention and they attract things to them and let things go.
Hmm.
And there's no like KPIs or key performance indicators, and it's COOs, CEOs, and an org chart. It's usually just an intention, and then all that stuff manifests into branches, which is
The shaman that I'm telling you that is coming in the upcoming episode taught me about productivity this way. He said, "You are a real magician when you are completely silent and still, and things come to you." Which
hmm
you remind me very much what you were saying, because I'm also impressed by, for example, Sadhguru or Sri Sri.
yeah,
I'm blanking
interesting.
the name from. Yeah, I'm blanking the name from the Art of Living. We should get him here. Wow, that is super cool.
Sri Sri
Nice.
Ravi Shankar. Yeah,
Trishi Ravi Shankar. Yeah, we're gonna get him here soon.
I love it.
Now, Mike, what are upcoming projects from Simple Nursing? What should we be focusing on, or what should we be aware from your side?
One of the most exciting projects for Simple Nursing is we made 18 songs that are parody albums or parody songs to big hits. That's a great. There's a Sweet Kidney of Mine, instead of Sweet Child of Mine from who Guns N'
Guns N'
Roses.
Roses.
Yeah, that's what. And then from Journey, Don't Stop Believing, we have Don't Stop Breathing, and we go through like all the pharmacology, and we're doing music videos behind that too. Um, and it's great. Oh man, it's so much fun. And I think we did such a good job, because I wrote those lyrics about 5 years ago, and I think they were solid. And I finally was able to produce them, which is a personal, project for me.
Man, the one from Miley Cyrus cracked me up. I learned so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, that was our first album. Yeah, yeah.
You are the
Yeah,
weird old Yankovic of nursing, in other words.
I know. Yeah, it's so much fun because I get to see students learn through that process, and it's not just, most of them aren't just fun songs. It's like actual learning going on. So I'm like, dude, there's a really cool. Yeah.
Wow.
We even do Hotel Cardiac for Hotel California and go through like the blood flow through the heart. Oh man, it's so good. That's my favorite song. Yeah.
Eager to hear those when they come up. What's
Oh,
another project that you're working on?
for Simple Nursing, we want to at least make like a nurse career hub, because right now our product ends by the end of nursing school, and so we want to help the nurses branch out into their career. And I think it'd be cool just to create like a streaming masterclass series of how to excel in your career, how to transfer departments, how to get the job with your resume, interview tips, sit down with hiring managers and say, what do you look for in a candidate? And this is coming from hiring managers from like big Ivy League hospitals, and then create like a continuing education platform behind that. That would be
Mhm.
amazing. I think the ultimate goal, which I don't believe we're going to last that long, because I believe we're going to sell the company or merge with a bigger company to realize a lot of the big goals. But one of the biggest ones is create our own online nursing school, 100% online,
Mhm.
and you just come in person to do your clinicals for 6 months, and it would basically be the Google and Amazon of nursing school. We'd shake up the market so good. Because when we're looking at COVID, we're like, dude, everyone's learning online through Zoom anyways. So learn with the videos, have your instructor there one day a week just to ask questions about those videos, because we cover everything that's going to be on boards. Take your exams, and then, we're just going to cut out the fluff, cut out the BS. And then when it comes time to actually do your clinicals, it'll be all about learning instead of all about like doing all these unnecessary items that most nursing schools have to do. So
Hmm.
it would be just, yeah, an amazing experience.
What about on your personal side? What is your a personal project that you're eager to work on?
Yeah, so for me, I've mentioned this before, and actually we were talking about it, me and JJ. I we are making a tiny home community out in Austin, Texas, that is basically including the 5-star day and all the elements that we have. Not to overwhelm people, but yeah, yeah. But I think it'd be great because so many times people are just they have an idea of biohacking, right? Or this thing that's out there that's like, oh, biohacking is this or biohacking is that. And then I would just love to show people everything that I personally do on a day-to-day basis. And instead of going to like these, rungas or these wellness retreats that are like 10 grand or 5 grand or 7 grand, we can have it pretty much on demand 24/7. It'll be a self-guided journey we'll have a sauna on site, a cold plunge, a box gym, a meditation room, even red light therapy. And there will be QR codes that guide your journey, for a
Hmm.
few $100. And you can access it anytime. Yeah. And then we'll throw events there and stuff. And I think that'll be great.
Sign me up to guinea pig that one if it's so close. Sign me
I know,
up.
I know. Yeah, yeah. That's the intention. And there's no deadlines for that. I think we're probably gonna be done by next summer or something like that. I don't know. So it'd be nice.
We're getting to the last part of the interview, Mike. So, what is something that you would say your younger version 5 years ago?
5 years ago, yeah. Wait, what was the question?
What would you say? What would you tell your 5 year your youngest? I would say. Let me repeat this one because even I myself got it completely wrong. What is something that you will suggest or advise your version of 5 years ago?
Okay, good question. So what would I tell myself 5 years ago
Hmm.
from today? One of the biggest things is let go. Um, yeah, let go and enjoy the journey, the joys in the journey. Um, and then just focus on the basics, man. Just focus on what you're doing, why you're doing it, and build a team that sees that same vision is the idea.
Hmm.
But really the biggest part is just letting go of expectations and getting a hold of appreciation of that moment. That's the idea.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What would you tell the Mike 5 years from now?
Oh man, what the hell are you doing, Mike? No, I'm just kidding. I think one of the biggest things 5 years from now, I would really just want to be like, Mike, you got to be in a place of peace. You just, keep on practicing the fundamentals. Keep on letting go. Nothing in life is usually as important or as scary or as anxiety ridden as we really think. Um, and yeah, because yeah,
Wow.
I'm coming into the next stage of my life where I'm like, oh man, I need to like settle down and get married, have kids, and that gives me so much anxiety. More
Likewise,
than
we're
anything else in my life. So
hilarious.
yeah, that's
Okay.
that's what I'm trying to talk myself into, but it's been hard. So
Wow. Mike, where can people find you on the net?
yeah, so you can any social media platform type in Simple Nursing, you'll see our content. If you want to follow me personally, I am Mike.Linares on Instagram. I usually mostly use Instagram. Even though I do have a Facebook, but I don't really use it anymore. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Perfect. In closing, Mike, if you could leave the audience with a question to expand their minds, what would that question be?
One of the biggest questions I ask myself is something I said before, but kind of in a different way, where it's just like, don't tell yourself you can't. Always just ask yourself, how can I? And if your negative mind still persists, just agree with it. Say, you know what? It is impossible. But if it was possible, how could that happen? And I always ask myself that. And then that's when your creative juices start flowing and you're like, okay. And then you start manifesting and act like it's done. And then that's when it happens.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mike. Is there any other thing that you would like to leave the audience with?
No, I think one of the biggest things is commit to failure. Know that you have to fail 9 times. And during that process, just commit to learning before you start earning. if you're focused on earning before learning, it'll just never work. Even if it does work, you'll end up bitter and you'll end up greedy, and it just won't be good for you. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mike. It has been so much fun to have you here, and I hope that this is not the last time that we are spending time together in the podcast, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Send me this link of this podcast. It was really good.
So, if you guys enjoyed this conversation with Mike Linares from Simple Nursing, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to receive notifications for upcoming interviews. That's all for today. Keep learning and keep optimizing.